Hey guys, today I'm going to walk you through how I did this super pretty, soft and subtle halo eye using the NARS Afterglow palette. Starting with brows, I'm taking my new favourite product, the Ellice Jade Brow Pomade in Soft Brown. Taking a small amount of product on an angled brush, I start by mapping out the bottom of my brow. I'm pretty much following the natural shape of my brows minus the stragglers thanks to isolation. I then map out the top line, starting the line just back from the front of my brow so they don't end up looking too blocky, connecting the lines at the tail. Then fill in using short strokes. When I reach the front of my brow, I use a very light hand and draw small short lines to mimic brow hairs in slightly slanted lines. Take your time, but don't stress if you can't get them exactly how you like or perfectly neat, as we're going to come in with concealer to carve them out and neaten up the shape. Okay, then moving on to concealer. Taking the Revolution Makeup's Conceal and Define, placing it on the back of my hand instead of straight on my lids today because I have a new eyeshadow primer I'm playing with. Using a flat concealer brush, I'm using the Artiste Professional Concealer Brush. Pick up your concealer and start cleaning up the edges of your brows. I start on the inner bottom corner and carefully clean up the bottom line. Again, take your time. Then tidy the top. You don't have to do this on the top, I just prefer it. Taking a damp beauty sponge and blending the concealer out, making sure there are no harsh lines. I'm then taking the NARS Tinted Smudge Proof eyeshadow base all over my lids and blending it out using my finger. Taking the NARS Afterglow eyeshadow palette, I'm going into the shade Shadow Hill on a smallish blending brush. This one is from Crown Brushes but doesn't have a name on it. It's almost identical to the Sigma E25 blending brush. Stamping this on the outer and inner corners of my eyes, blending upwards and inwards slightly, mapping out the shape. Don't connect the colours, leave the centre of the lids bare. Pack it on and blend until you're happy. Now taking the shade Whipped from the same palette on a small shader brush, I'm placing this right on the inner and outer corners of my eyes. I'm using the Sigma E20 short shader brush. You want to concentrate this right in the inner and outer corners. Taking the small shaded brush I use for Shadow Hill with a very light hand, give Whipped a little blend, making sure there's no harsh lines or banding between the shades or along the top edges. Then taking the shade Bayadere on a small packing brush and placing it in the centre of the lid between the brown. I'm using another brush from Crown Brushes, and again this one doesn't have a name stamped on it. Then taking a Crown Brushes C528 brush or a very small tapered blending brush and just blend the very edges of Bayadere and Shadow Hill so there are no harsh lines. Now taking Push It on a small shader brush, I'm using the Crown Brushes C462 chisel shader, wetting this down with setting spray before I dip into the shadow. This gives your shimmers a little more punch. I'm using the Max Fix Plus and I'm concentrating this right on the very centre of the lid, not blending it into Bayadere. Leaving the eyes for now and moving on to base. Taking the e.l.f. Cosmetics Poreless Putty Primer on my fingertips and pressing it into my skin. Then doing something a little strange, I'm taking the Kryolan Translucent Powder and popping a tiny layer of this over the primer. I then spray my face with setting spray before applying my foundation. I have really oily skin and I saw Nakia Joy do this, so I'm going to give it a go. Taking a Damp Beauty sponge and the OXX Hydra Breathable Foundation, I place it all over my face and blend it out. Taking the Revolution Makeup Conceal and Define and placing it under my eyes, down the bridge of my nose, on the centre of my forehead, my cupid's bow, and my chin, blending it out using the same damp beauty sponge that I use for foundation. I then set my face with the Crayola Jewel Finish Powder Foundation on a large tapered powder brush. I'm using the Crown Brushes C531. I spray my face with a Max Fix Plus setting spray again. Using the e.l.f. Cosmetics bronzer in Forever Sun Kiss on a large angled brush to contour. I'm using the Crown Brushes C522. Taking the bronzer from the top of my ear down towards my mouth, directly under my cheekbones. I take this up over my temples, into my widow's peaks, and along my hairline. Then taking e.l.f. Cosmetics blush in Always Rosy on a Sigma Powder Blush Brush F10, and pop it on my cheeks, blending into the top edge of the bronzer and back towards my temples. Jumping back into eyes, taking the first shade I used on the top lid, Shadow Hill, using the Crown Brushes C513 or a pencil brush, and I'm placing it on the bottom, inner and outer corners of my eyes, mimicking what I did on the top. Now taking shade Whipped and placing it over the top of Shadow Hill. Remember not to connect the shadows in the centre. taking the Crown Brush's C462 or chisel shader and the shade Bayadere and place it right in the centre of the bottom lash line. Wet the same brush down with setting spray and push it and place it over the top of Bayadere. Take a clean pencil brush and smoke out the line slightly. For highlighter, I'm using the Makeup Workshop's Ellice on the Sigma Tapered Highlighter F35 brush. I'm popping this on the tops of my cheeks, down the bridge of my nose, tip of my nose, Cupid's bow, above the arch of my brow and on my chin. Taking the Maybelline New York Hyper Sharp Wing Felt Tip Liner and drawing on a wing. Dipping back into the Makeup Workshop Ellice's highlighter using a pencil brush, I'm popping this into the inner corners of my eyes to make them pop. On to lips, I'm taking a Stralis lip liner in Heartbreaker to line and fill in my lips. Then taking the e.l.f. Cosmetics Liquid Matte Lipstick in shade Blushing Rose and place it all over my lips. While that dries down, I take Maybelline New York the Falsies Lash Lift Mascara on top and bottom lashes.
These skies have a different light, why noise that keeps me up at night. I can't help but think back to you. I wish that I could find a face that I would recognize. I replay the memory of you. It's been hard.
Back to lips, I'm taking the Australis Girl Boss Velvet Lip Cream in the shade Empower and placing a small amount on the centre of the top and bottom lip and blending it out using my finger. To finish off, I spray my entire face with the MAC Fix Plus setting spray for the 100th time. And that's the final look. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.
Far apart, but it never took away my heart. Have you been holding it safe? 'Cause it's been